did you go through the exercise of defining your values and your mission? Like when you think about what you're exemplifying and what you're trying to represent to people so that you're modeling the right behavior for them as a high-performing team leader yourself, like how formal is that?
So it's funny, when I first started the team, I didn't have, the values that my values mapped out, and I didn't have like a mission or a vision statement that kind of like that gelled like several months in when I realized, right, that's necessary. But I have always been a person that throws myself like 120% into things. I've always been a hard worker, and I'm extremely I'm just critical of myself. Like even when someone will say good job like on your accomplishments, I'm always like, okay, but I can do more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more. And so I like to think that I model that for my team, that like I accept nothing but excellence, and it is my ultimate goal, to really elevate the industry as a whole by delivering an exceptional experience to my agents and my clients, right? To agents in the marketplace. And we so often think of, just offering our buyers and sellers an exceptional experience, but I think it's important to also give that to our agents. So that has become my mission statement. And by doing so, I will become the very first female-led team to be #1 by units closed in Connecticut. I know that I will. We're on a great trajectory.
When did you realize that this was something that was going to really be good for you and that you were going to be really good at it?
My very first phone call that I ever made, it was to a for sale by owner, and I set an appointment. And then I was hooked. Like, I was just hooked. I loved it. I loved the rush that I got. I love people kind of telling me something was hard and that I couldn't do it. And then I did it. And then I did it again. And I did it again. And being able to help people solve problems, I get immense satisfaction out of that. And that's essentially when I knew that this was the right thing to do, and it would be exciting for me. And literally every day is different. It was as an agent. It is as a team leader, and I love that. I love the unpredictability. There's something about it. And in my ConversionCon talk, I talked a lot about how I grew up with unpredictability, and I thrived in that environment. And I just think it just suits me for whatever reason.
One of the reasons I'm asking this is there's someone right now who has a similar size team as you, but they don't have your systems, and it is halfway off the rails, and they probably won't be able to double production because even though you feel like it was maybe overkill at the time, I'm sure time has proven that it was a worthwhile investment. At least, most of it was. So what was your approach to building out and hardening those systems, even if it was a little bit early?
Yeah. So, narrowing down my value prop, right? I just wanted everything to be exceptional and detail oriented. And yes, very much centered on what the clients and the team agents wanted. So I developed this white glove concierge, way of thinking about things. And all right, what would I want as a really busy seller, or, as a brand new agent, which I love bringing on brand new agents, or as a buyer that's nervous. And so with my sellers, I've decided to offer everything from a staging consultation to a deep clean to the full marketing package, not just photos, but floor plans, 3D tours, videography when called for, drone shots when called for, twilights, virtual staging, renderings, and for our nicest package, also a pre-listing inspection and a home warranty that covers the seller and the buyer. It's transferable to the buyer. All of these different things of listing showcase, a laundry list of stuff. And then, all right, so this is just, seller, not necessarily buyer, right? I have a buyer version of this too, and then I said, that's going to be super attractive to agents. They can't pay for all. That's a lot of money to fork out up front, right? Now I have to set up the staff that's going to manage all that for them, because I do not want them scheduling all these things. I want them to hand my staff the listing agreement, and the next time they hear from anybody is, all right, your draft is ready for your review, so that they can use all of that time then to go and get more sellers and go and get them at a higher commission, because they have all of this exceptional value in addition to their knowledge of the market. And I mean, things that any agent should be doing standard, right? So I think that that's the way it progressed. So figuring out exactly what I wanted to offer the client, lining up the staff that would be able to help my agents get there and not waste time. And then using project management software to say, all right, like, who needs to be called and when, and what will that trigger, right? So listing paperwork, check. That triggers the phone call to the photographer, check. That triggers. So, automating as much as I could. Like I'm such a nut for making systems like as efficient as possible and finding gaps. I think that's where like my science background comes in. Super detail oriented. I wrote standard operating procedures for a living. Like that's what I did, right? Like Roman numerals, subset 2, A, B, C, like, let's indent that. That's what, so yeah, I mean, and what makes it so hard for team leaders or for people that are wanting to start a team that are still in production is really just taking the time to sit down and do it, because we're so busy working with clients and needing to like bring that money in that it's really hard to settle down and settle in. So outsource it, like find somebody to help you do that. Find that personality. They don't have to be a full-time employee. They do not have to be an admin, a director of operations. Like you can contract, work it out and like I love leveraging. I love leveraging people. I love leveraging software. I leverage as much as possible. And I think that that's helped me like obtain some degree of balance and freedom. We're never really balanced doing what we do, but as much as possible, which is why I'm wearing this sweatshirt, because I went and did some like testing to help me with my trail running, and so yeah, it allows me to do that instead of just being in the mix and in the weeds and getting bogged down. Like I said, if somebody can do it 85% and you can finish it and put the shine on it, like, do it. Yeah, do it. It's a good investment.
Talk about profitability from, you and a TC to where you are today. How have you thought about it? Where were you maybe willing to give a little bit, knowing that you need to sacrifice some of that for just straight up growth, and that the economies of scale would come in to give you that return back in the future? Like, have you thought about it over the years and through some of the phases, and maybe what are some cautions you'd give some folks?
Yeah. So I started this thing in 2023. We are still a new baby burgeoning business. I put every last penny back into my business. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there are things like, that I've done, like buying an office and stuff like that, but I'm not taking elaborate vacations on my profit. I'm pouring it back into the business because I want to offer just super high quality, and I know it will attract agents and I know it will attract clients, and that's going to take time to build up. And frankly, I'm okay with that. So, I have a really strong support system at home, and we have income properties, and, it's okay. Like I get that I'm that in this messy middle, and I've heard it from so many people that you're not always as profitable as you want to be. And and it's funny, like it's silly to think about, but money was never like my driving force in real estate. Like it just wasn't. My final walkthroughs were everything. People's reactions were everything. The commission, like sometimes I wouldn't even pay attention to whether or not it got like put into my bank account, which is, I don't know. So honestly, like I have believed all along that putting people first will result in profit along the way. So yeah, am I like netting $1 million? No, I absolutely am not. And I don't feel that people at this stage should. Like, I think that that's what people need. They need to get honest with themselves that when you have a brand new business, you're not going to be uber profitable, and that's all right. And we should be putting money back into our businesses. All right. And then so as far as cautioning people, against overspending, I mean, I have 21 different lead sources, and some of them work and some of them don't. So I would caution people to be constantly analyzing exactly how their lead sources are performing, like especially the ones that you're paying for, regardless of whether or not your agents are closing them, and just be ruthless about it. This year I've had to get rid of certain lead sources that just aren't working for me. But I still believe that practicing all over the state with as many lead sources as possible, especially pay at close, just is the way to go. I mean, I think that that's how we sold twice as much as we did last year. Like, that's how. So yeah, economies of scale, growing the team to at least 50 agents will get me to the point where all of this hard work makes sense. It's really easy to think of leads as like not these human beings, like just on the other side of things, right? The lead source doesn't matter. Like, they're all human beings coming to us for help. And so if the agent does a good job, they should be getting a referral, period. It doesn't matter what source they come from.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, as a solo, I was using a ton of different lead sources. I love internet leads. Like, I wasn't big on like friends and family. I used internet leads to establish my sphere, and then they referred. And I even have agents on my team that like I helped buy and sell. So I've been able to get referrals from lots of different sources that I was using before I started a team. I believe that my agents should as well. And so developing a system for getting great reviews and getting referrals and nurturing and all of that, like, that's yet another.
Even getting a referral when you didn't get a conversion.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Which is, I think, at some level, kind of a reciprocity play, or like I changed my mind. This isn't the right time for us, but I feel guilty about it. And we've established enough rapport because you're a great agent that I feel slightly obligated to, to recommend somebody who is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, I have no idea how common it is for people to track that, but like, it's not a conversion on the list of leads we got, but it's business that was produced that you never would have had if you had not been introduced to that person who didn't convert.
Definitely. When approaching things in a selfless way like that, not getting upset that you haven't converted a lead, like, that's when the magic happens. And then as far as how I look at lead source performance, like, I don't think it's appropriate to give it any less than 6 months. And frankly, it should be a year. And, I got started in 2023. So we were coming out of, the end of COVID and interest rates going up. So like the 2023 market was completely different than, COVID. So I can't even compare it to that. So it's really a year. And then with Connecticut, it's interesting, right? Because we have spring and fall that are really, really busy times. But then the crazy shift with interest rates and inventory has also made like winter a very busy time for us too. So it's really it's following trends. We have leads in our database that are 3 years old that are just now converting. And so I'm using FUB like extensively to keep track of all of this stuff. And we use Excel spreadsheets and, and then also there are like different personality types that convert different lead sources different ways. There's so much to look at.
Yeah, I mean, taking some responsibility on your side, like maybe these 3 agents would be best on this source versus these other ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, when I first started, like, I only worked with sellers. Like, I worked on a team where I was a seller specialist. And then my second team that I worked on, I was also a seller specialist. So, I'm okay with my agents trying to convert seller leads, but many of them realize it's not as easy as it looks. It's not easy, and it's not easy once you get them either. So, yeah, I try not to compare my agents to my conversion, which, over the past several years has been about 20% with online leads. But, I think it's just going to take some time. It'll take some more time to figure out, top of the funnel versus bottom of the funnel, who is patient enough to nurture down to the bottom of the funnel. And the sources that I've gotten rid of, are mostly like way top of the funnel, or like we get a lot of feedback that people are like, where did you get my phone number? Things like that. Like, those are the ones, or like they're really nasty. But it's funny, like some of those lead sources now, the leads that have been sitting for 2, 3 years are engaging with our tools, our lead conversion tools, Fellow, Real Scout, HomeBot, like they're engaging. So, things, yeah, there's a longer cycle for lead conversion now. It's obvious.
What was your value prop, a year and a half ago or so versus what is it today? Like, because you have invested significantly and it's clear just in this conversation, that there is a lot of value. And I would assume some of that is unique value in the market, at least to the degree that you can communicate it to somebody effectively and they understand the value of it, which is a missing link. A lot of people think we have so much value, but it's like, that's great. You can have all the value in the world, but if you can't translate it to someone else on the other side of the table, it's not that useful. What was your value prop then? What is your value prop today? And I guess kind of in parallel, how has your role changed over that time too?
Yeah, totally. All right. So, I mean, aside from these buyer and seller programs, these really extensive programs that I've put together for my agents, they do have access to Reside, founded by some of the most, prolific people in real estate right now, and they get to be coached by them. And I think that that's lovely. So they get training by them. I get leadership training, right? So my value prop, it's funny. So I think that a team leader's value prop should be a good percentage them and their evolution as a human being, right? I have evolved so much in my way of thinking and the way that I feel about, other people and this business and myself. And so being able to model these behaviors and model, growing up and just being a better person to these other people that kind of they want what you have. I think that that's a huge value prop. And then there's the solid stuff, the buyer and the seller programs and the staff and the training that Reside brings and the coaching and and then of course, our new office. I mean, I think that that's a really great value prop. It's situated in the hottest town, in the hottest county, hottest real estate market in the country for the past 2 years, as voted by Realtor.com. That has nice frontage. I've always been super accessible. So, and I know that that will change over time, the more agents that I have, but I care enough to put systems and people in place to make sure that nobody's left by the wayside. I just think, having somebody that genuinely cares about other people's success, that's important. I think there are over 300 teams in Connecticut, and to be ranked in the top 10, my first year out the gate, to me, that says that what I'm putting out there as a person and as with systems is doing the right thing.
I love the way that you broke that apart, the real practical things. And you have a lot of those, but then also this personal story. It's definitely been a part of a lot of the conversations here on Real Estate Team OS of where'd you get your first 5 agents? It was I sat down and I told them what I was doing to be successful. I shared them enough of my best tips, told them there's a lot more where that came from. Do you want to do this? And they said, yeah. So and there's no faking and no hiding the sincerity behind whatever your motivation is. And what I'm getting from you is I want this to be done the right way. I'm not going to stop until it is done the right way. And by done the right way, I mean for you as the agent who's considering joining this team and for your clients and all of our fellow teams clients. I don't.
You hit that perfectly. You hit the nail on the head. The right way. I'm very much, and there's lots of right ways, I guess, but yeah, I want to, I'm sticking to my guns.
Yeah. I like this not cheaping out is other language I picked up from you. That people can feel that difference, right? Yeah. It's when you go into new construction and it's done solidly, or you go into new construction, it's you got the cheapest hardware from the cheapest vendor. And it's it's a good location. It looks nice. The layout's good, but all the finishing is it's trash to the touch.
Yeah. And we've been in some of those places as opposed to a custom build, maybe that the builder themselves lived in, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel this is. It's a custom build. And I've taken from other people's systems and models, the pieces that I really love and fit best with my personality and my values. And I'm creating this really beautiful thing. I am just genuinely excited to see where this goes and to see how far I can push myself. Like every week that goes by, and there are like significant ups and downs, but in general, like the trend is up.